how does a piece from every body end up back in the burn pit? That would mean that he would have to go take the cremains from the burn barrel, maybe the Yonda burn barrel, because that's the one that Josh Redant says he saw the big fire in. And what did he do? Take that and dump it back into his own burn barrel after dismembering the leg? It just does not make any sense at all. There's too good of a mixture of bones for them to happen the way that the Gilter's narrative explains.
Right,
Sorry,
I
Jeff.
agree. It's like it's just a perfect representation. When you look at the size of the pieces that you actually get, it's like, wow, if you were gonna like, hey, let's take one piece from every part of the body and then put it in a that it's almost too good. And the way you describe it, Big Jeff, I just agree. It's like, how could you maybe it would be more likely that you only found bones from the top half of the body, or you only found bones from the bottom half of the body, or one of those examples. But it is just a spot on representation. Yeah.
Thank you,
The
Big Jeff. That's where actually I was going with it. That's what I was trying to get
So
out.
sorry.
No, no, no. But you did it for me. That's what I was trying to get at. It was we have the entire a piece of every part of the body. How? That's what I was saying. Like we talk about Cuss Road and maybe finding a torso in place. Well, that kind of doesn't work now because we've got part of the torso in there now. So something it was like, how was it? And Kath, it drives Kath mad because she's like, did someone deliberately go in and go, all right, I'll take a piece of their skull, I'll take a bit of the torso. Like they've gone down and literally handpicked what they need to show a full skeleton.
the yeah, the big issue, and this really is a huge issue, and that is it. There is a lack of anatomical continuity, right? This is the big problem. So we've alluded to the fact that you've got a bit of this and a bit of that, but you don't find entire structures, right? You don't find an intact rib cage. You do not find an intact vertebra. You do not find an intact skull. In fact, you don't even find an intact pelvis. These are bones which are relatively resistant to burning. So what you do, what you find is a scrambled mess, right? You've got a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but you lack anatomical continuity, which means that if Teresa Halbach was burnt in situ in that burn pit, you're going to see entire structures like the vertebral column, right? The vertebra, the rib cage, long bones. What you don't find are any of those structures. You find a random mix of cremains, which possibly means that if she had been burnt elsewhere, for a start, we know that there's been some type of dismemberment event because there are saw cuts in the bones. So it is quite possible that she could have been burnt either in a burn barrel or burn barrels, and parts of the cremains were simply scooped up, right? Scooped up in a bucket and either brought over or dumped in Stephen Avery's burn pit. That will explain the fact that you have no anatomical continuity. And what I mean by that is you don't find an entire arm, you don't find an entire leg, you don't find rib cage, pelvis, and also the vertebra, which are very, very hard to burn. All the teeth are gone, right? 35% of the skull was recovered. Where's the rest of the skull? So it looks like you've got a mishmash of bone fragments, small bone fragments. And what Big Jeff alluded to is perfect. Stephen Avery did not have the fuel, nor did he have the time, because one of the biggest problems, which Dahan pointed out, was that an open burn pit loses all the heat to the atmosphere. Whereas if you burn a human being in a closed vessel, like a crematorium or a burn barrel, the heat is reflected back, which means that the heat is intense enough to convert a human being to bone fragments, right? And he's worked with cadavers being burnt in burn barrels, and he demonstrated that you can convert a human being to bone fragments. But there's something weird here, guys. Around 60% of the skeletal remains are missing.